It's time to take your business to the next level, the boss level. These are the premier business owner strategies and successes being utilized by the industry's top talent today. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss. Now let's welcome your host, Ann Ganguza.
Hey everyone, welcome to the VO Boss Podcast and the Business Superpower Series. I'm your host, Ann Ganguza, and I'm excited to bring back the one and only Lau Lapides to the show. Thank you, Lau, for joining me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I'm thrilled to be here as always. Thrilled to be here, Ann.
Well, Lau, it's been a week.
And I feel like it's been a month with how much how busy our lives are, right, Ann?
I know,
it's like
right?
So much.
But this week, you were a part of me besides the podcast. So I'm very excited to be working with you as an agent. And so you did something that I have never experienced before. You called me into a last-minute audition, and I said, oh, okay. I didn't have any script. You called me into a Zoom room, and I was like, okay, is that going to just be me and the casting director? Oh, that's so lovely for Lau to think of me like that. I'm really excited. Okay, sure. So I joined the Zoom session and there were like, whoa, quite a few people on there. And I didn't have a script. I didn't know what was going to go on, what was happening. Let's talk about this audition that you called me into and your process.
I'll tell you, you were such a good sport because you could have said no. I know it's not in your vocabulary to say no, but you could have. It would have been totally fine if you said no, but I was really pleasantly surprised to see that not only you, but everyone in that room said yes to coming in the room. Now, I'll set it up for you since today we're talking about auditions. This was a little bit, I would call it unorthodox. It was a little bit unorthodox the way we set this up, but that's kind of my middle name, and I'm all right with that. I go with that because I like to have a little fire in life. So the premise of this audition was that our friend and producer coming in from Switzerland, Lamar Hawkins, amazing man, who is very, very close friends with my colleague, Joanne Yarrow, that I work with at my studio, invited him in to say, hey, you are doing amazing projects. I mean, my friend Joanne, who I have to introduce you to, she's fabulous. She's the voice now, the American voice of L'Occitane campaign that he handles. And so I'll send you that. It's awesome. So I'm like, ooh, we have a wonderful agency, MCVO. We have a wonderful membership base at the studio, Talent Inner Circle. Why don't I invite some of our really great people with great voices to come in and do a private audition for Lamar? And he was completely up for it. He said, I would love that, Lau. I'm looking for new talent. I'm doing a new animation soon. I'm doing commercial campaigns. I'm doing this and that. He's very, very busy. He's in Switzerland, but he's actually from the States, originally from Texas. And I said, great, let's do it. So we set it up for yesterday. Now, here's the thing. A bunch of the people knew that the audition were coming because they were in the studio base, the Talent Inner Circle studio base, and had RSVP'd that, yes, I want to attend this. I'm able to. I've been screened. I'm accepted in, and I'm coming in. Great. But then I had a number of open slots that I said, I've got to get more MCVO people knowing about this and coming in because this is a legit audition and it's a live audition. It's something I really love to do and love to host.
That was so different for me. I mean, I felt like I traveled into LA and went to an in-person audition again almost.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. And fun fact from the background, because no one ever sees what's going on in the background, I was on vacation. I was up in the Berkshires. Like literally, I'm at lunch with my husband and I'm texting like a wild woman. He said, what are you doing? I said, you know, I'm working. It's always a work vacation for me, a workcation. I said, I'm getting more talent to come in and know about this audition who don't know from MCVO. And I'm texting you, and I'm texting J. Michael Collins, and I'm texting Terrell, and I'm texting Carol, and I'm texting this one, and I'm texting Mike Pollock. And all of a sudden, all these people are saying yes and jumping in. And I didn't even have time to tell him what it was. I didn't even have time to say anything.
That was absolutely the thing. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And I'll admit to you bosses out there, I got in the room and I didn't have copy. And I thought, am I missing something? And thank goodness that, Lau, you gave me a little bit of information and said, grab some commercial copy, or we have some. When I got in there, I didn't see it. Maybe it was there and I just didn't know where to look. So I got off and I thought, oh, well, that must look horrible.
No, not at all.
I went to go grab coffee, and then I came back in, and then it was like, what, 2 people left to go? So I made it just in time.
And then Carol Alpert, who is facilitating, right, one of our coaches, she's texting me, Ann Cancuz is on. And then she goes, she left. And I said, what? She left? Where'd she go? And I'm like, Ann, where are you? I thought maybe you were having a technical issue or you had to go and do something.
I went to go find some copy because I didn't want to be called on and then say, I don't have copy. You know what I mean? So I went to go grab some.
Right. And now, very rarely when we do this kind of audition, we always have copy on hand for cold reads. I know some talent don't prefer to do a cold read. So we say, well, bring something you want to bring that shows you off.
I was ice cold. I was ice cold, but I said to myself, okay, and bosses, listen, when your agent asks you to come in and audition, it's a sign that they believe in you, number one, and that they would not have asked you to come into an audition if they did not feel that you were worthy of doing an audition. And there was no way that I was going to disappoint my agent.
Oh, and I appreciated that so much. And some of the others that came in, it was hilarious. I'm going to save some of the texts that were like, hey, Lau, that was great. What was that?
Yeah, exactly.
Where was I?
What just happened?
And what happened? It was you were in some matrix. There was some vortex that came through like a storm. But I got to tell you, and this is good for your listeners to hear, every single person who came in that thought they were unprepared or didn't have copy or weren't sure what they were doing did a fantastic job. And it just reminded me what pros we all are when we get in a room.
Yeah.
We have passion. We love what we're doing. There's this super connected quality of being in a room with other talent, because that's unexpected as well, to be in a room with other talent like that.
I was going to say, absolutely. Right? One of the other things was, oh my God, and everybody else is listening to me. Right. It's not just the agent, the casting director. It is like 50 people in the room. I don't know how many people were in the room, but there were more than one. There was quite a few people listening. And I happened to just come in really quickly with J. Michael Collins, who was reading. And then that's when I said, I don't have that copy. And so I skedaddled out of there. And fortunately, you had said, just grab any copy. And I said, okay. So I went and I grabbed some copy. And my read was ice cold. But again, like I said, boss, it's so important to know that when your agent gives you an audition, it's because they have the faith in you that you're going to be able to execute. And I think that is one thing that really saved me. And I will admit to you, bosses, yes, when you're thrown into a situation like that and you're not quite sure what's happening, you're kind of running on adrenaline. And it's a little scary, I'm just going to say, not knowing what's happening. But I think it was a wonderful lesson for me, even as long as I've been in this industry, just to trust in your agent, trust in yourself, have faith in the process, and just go forth and execute. And what's the worst that can happen? I mean, I thought of a billion things. When I was done, I was like, I'm not quite sure how that went, but he said nice job, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, and that enabled me. So when I debrief with him, we're debriefing on Tuesday, I can now go down the list and say, do you remember this person? You remember this? You had a visual, not only the sound, you had a visual. Right. Oh, and you had more than one read on a lot of people as well. You had a character read, you had a commercial read. That, and to be able to really discuss the performances for particular projects that he's working on. So it's never just like this one-hit wonder and go. It's always like, ooh, I like the quality of this person, that person. Can I call them back? Can I hear their demo? Can I, whatever. It's just like an introduction to you.
And that, I think, is brilliant in reality because, like, you have introduced your roster to a potential client and the visual, yes. Now, of course, I'm sure there's a bunch of people in their studios going, well, this is an audition over Zoom. And then the engineers in there will be going, I don't know if Zoom is the best quality. But honestly, I think that any good casting director is going to know your performance, whether it's in your studio or through Zoom or whatever. They're going to understand and they're going to know a good performance when they see one.
Absolutely. And this particular producer, from what I know of his background, he has a very rich history of live performance and theater and media.
And that aligns with
him. He gets it. He gets that because I had people who were in cars and bathrooms and their workstation. They were coming in from everywhere. So his business brain, I'm sure, was saying, oh, they're busy people. They're not just sitting in a spot waiting for me.
Right.
They're working, they're running, they're traveling, they're on vacation, they're this or that. I'm thankful that they took the time to come in so I could see their work for projects.
And that means a lot, too, I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
And especially, again, like we're always trying to make in auditions, and I love this episode because this is becoming so much more than just a normal audition type of episode where we give you the tips and the tricks, because the experience of this one was so different. And it really, I think, can teach us how to make ourselves memorable in a multitude of ways, not just knowing the conditions, right, of the audition number one. You called us in cold, or you called certain people in cold, and that can resonate well with whoever's listening to that potential client. And also, again, there's that visual, and it is like the in-person auditions that, God, I used to go in, and it was great. I'd see everybody in the lobby. Now, the difference is that I would audition in front of just, it was just me, and it wouldn't be everybody else listening to my audition. So that added a whole nother level to. It was almost like a workshop, but in reality, if you tend to get nervous in these experiences, that could even potentially make you more nervous. So again, having the ability and the privilege to be able to make that kind of impression on a potential client, I think is wonderful. And Lau, you're one of the few people I know that do this. And so I think it's a wonderful thing, even though I had no idea what it was when I was doing it. But but now I know.
Ever, right?
But now I know.
Therein lies the educational value when we talk about professional development. Is it really one audition, or is it, as you called it, Anne, an opportunity to build a relationship with a wonderful producer who's going to have a lifetime of stuff? I think it's the latter, really. It's never just one audition for one thing. It's always like, hey, you're cool dude, you're cool dudette, I like you. I like your vibe. And that's where, if I were to say to your listeners and also to my audience that came in, many of which were coming in from the studio membership, we're at different stages of the game, I would say one of the things I want you to really consider and remember is that when a producer meets you live, they want to see a little bit of who you are. Yeah. They want to catch your personality and your energy and your persona a little bit. So especially him, especially Lamar. So don't be afraid. You don't want to take up a ton of time, but don't be afraid to just chill a little bit and have a little bit of that conversational feel to what you're doing, because you're really meeting a real person in real time. It's a great opportunity for them to know a little piece of your actual personality versus I'm just a voiceover talent and here's my read. No, I'm Anne, I'm Lau, I'm Jay, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm traveling, and I'm whatever. That's cool. People like that. It's the goal of, how do I make you feel? Am I going to make you feel comfortable, or am I going to make you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah. Well, and I like the fact that you had the ability for everyone to kind of listen to everybody else's auditions. At the time, though, because I was hunting down copy, and then I literally had another session that was coming up like after 5 minutes, I couldn't stay for a long time. But what I did stay for, I really enjoyed. And I heard people doing all different types of copy. And I thought, wow, this is really kind of cool. It felt to me like a combination of a showcase and an audition, an in-person audition. Yeah.
That's what it turned into. And if you want to, I'm happy to send you the replay, because we record those sessions and we hold those for archival purposes.
Yes,
so if you
of
want
course.
to see
That's wonderful.
that, you can see the whole thing. It lasted about, I want to say 2 hours, like a solid 2 hours.
Wow.
And we had a rotation of people coming in and out, which was amazing. I think we landed on about 30 people.
Wow,
with the folks
that's
who
fantastic.
couldn't come, couldn't make it, no showed, new people jumping in. 30, like yourself, some of the country's top talent were there. And I was like, oh, my God, we're like representing the country's top talent. I was so proud of everyone. And not just the talent for what they delivered, but the kind of people that came in the room and were kind to him. No one pulled a fit. No one was a diva. No one was making excuses. That's all stuff when we talk about auditioning that you want to steer clear of, is like rule number one, I don't want to land my problems onto you.
Sure, absolutely.
Anyone who's had theater training knows that they teach you in conservatory, leave your trash at the door. Right?
Yeah.
Don't take it into the workspace. Don't worry, it'll be there when you leave. You can take it with you when you go out, but try not to bring your stuff in with you, because you want to come in as an open slate, a palette of possibilities.
Right.
We had talked about solving a problem, filling a need, but it's more than that. It's like, does this person have likability factor.
Sure, absolutely.
Would I want to hang out with them?
And what's so interesting is one of the reasons a lot of people get into voiceover is because they want to almost like hide behind the microphone and not necessarily show who they are or show their face. And so this kind of just threw that on its side.
And that was great.
Yeah. And that, again, gives such a good impression, I think. It just gives it a whole different dimension to the audition.
Totally.
So it's not just the voice, but also the person and the personality. And I'm the biggest fan of, look, people want to connect with people and not just a logo or a voice. And I really feel that that is effective in our profession, that if we can connect with our clients as people, that really, really does a lot to, I think, really secure and enhance and make us memorable to one another.
It's huge, Anne. I'm so glad you brought that up, the visibility factor, because I could have easily said, hey, take your visuals out. All I need to see is your name or your picture, whatever.
Right.
Just voiceover is fine. Get people off the hook so they don't have to put on the makeup and the lipstick. But I didn't want that. I wanted them to have the ability, and many of them wanted to come on, to be seen as people and also to see the diversity of our crowd. Like our people were coming in literally from all over the world, and everyone had a different look, a different age, a different feel, a different background. I think that's important in terms of cultivating a community that is both educational and professional level. I just think it enriched everyone else to see the level of talent that was there, that the bar was very high. Age ranged from like teens to probably 70, and every kind of background. And I think that's very inspirational for people to feel like, I'm included. This is inclusive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to sound or look or be someone else. I'm me. And that's who I am.
Correct.
And I think everyone did a fairly accurate job as to their brand, their quality, because they felt as comfortable as they could feel in a room full of great people.
Yeah. Well, that was it too. I mean, the fact is that I think it was a wonderful experience. Even if, let's say, I never get cast, the fact that I had the experience for just introducing myself to a potential client in this way has given me more, I'm going to say, confidence and really more confidence in terms of, auditions can be anything, right? Be prepared. It's almost like, I did a quick improv session there. So,
Exactly. And I think COVID changed it to some degree, where you don't have to be in an office. You don't have to be in someone else's studio. Your studio is the world now. It's really the world. You could be in your car. You could be in a bathroom. You could be anywhere, potentially meeting someone, recording, whatever. The possibilities are endless. It takes me back to even before COVID, and when we saw interviews, like corporate interviews, start to happen in Starbucks. That was one of the big coffee shops that I hear someone behind me, they're having an interview, I'm going to be quiet. That was a new thing. I don't know when that started. I want to say maybe 10 years ago or something. That was a new industry standard, that you didn't need to be in an office to have an interview. You could have an interview at Starbucks. And it's now kind of the same for us. Like, we could do an audition anywhere. We could be in the mountains and do an audition, which is exciting to me.
Yeah, I really love the additional opportunity to connect. So let me ask you a question then. So this is not the first one that you've done, or is it the first one that you've done, first audition like this?
Live?
Yeah, live.
In this way?
Yes.
I have done a number of these before, not recently. This is the first one I've done recently with someone of this caliber in terms of a producer coming in from Europe, someone that I have the inside scoop on who's producing particular campaigns that I'm interested in and animations that I'm interested in for the agency, getting into that genre, that field. And I like it. I mean, I just personally, as Lau, just as a person, I yearn for that improv energy. I yearn for that feeling of like, let's just meet, all right? A number of people know they're RSVPing, they're coming in, but then others may not know. They're coming in now. It's like real life. It's like a party, right? You invite your guest list, but then the guests may bring someone. The guests may invite someone else. It's like an authentic experience of what happens in real life when people are coming together and they're meeting and they're showcasing their work. So when we talk about showcases, it's not all premeditated ABC. It's like life. Networking is like you don't know who you're going to sit next to on the plane. You don't know who you're going to be next to in the elevator.
Sure.
You don't, and I always say, be careful, ladies and gentlemen, when you go in the restrooms. Like, be careful what you say. Be careful what you do, because your whole world is your oyster now for meeting producers, and producers can also be mom and pop shops, people who are producing their own podcasts, what have you. You want to always treat everyone respectfully and equally as the stars that they are in their own world, because you may be collaborating and working with them.
Yeah, good advice. What other tips would you have then in terms of not just this type of audition, but auditions in general that you've seen? Because you certainly are outside the box, I think, when it comes to the opportunities that you're affording people, which is a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would say, and just thinking back on that experience, some of the things that I would want to change and shift for some of the talent coming through. One is, and this is like an actor's rule, always have material that is great for you, that you love and feel comfortable with, ready to go. It's like whatever you want to call it, your demo material, your portfolio material, whatever. Have your strong suits ready to go. And it might even be an audition or two that came in last week. That you did a great job. It might be a recent booking. You just have to make sure, of course, you either have permission to use the script or it's in-house. It's not going to be used for commercial purposes. Or just recraft it enough so that it becomes your own and you know it's yours. It's good. It's something you feel comfortable doing. It's where your suit lies. I would have that ready to go, and I would have at least a half a dozen 30-second pieces ready to go for something live when it happens. It may happen rarely, but when it happens, it happens.
Yeah, that's such good advice, because I literally, like I mentioned, I didn't have it. I went and grabbed something that thankfully I have a large pool of copy. That, you know, because I work with people with copies, so thankfully. And I found something that I was comfortable with. So that's really wonderful advice. Now I'm going to make sure that I have a few pieces set aside for if that were to happen again. Absolutely. Any other tips?
Yeah, and I have another tip too. And this is like the actor in you. So when we talk to VOs, we say, do you consider yourself an actor? Surprisingly, many VOs will say, I'm not really an actor. It's not really what I do. I voice this. That's what I do. I always like to use the word actor because I don't necessarily mean just acting values in the character. I mean in your life. So like all the world's a stage, right? You're acting like a pro. You're acting like a coach. You're acting like a producer. You're acting in those roles, like just like an acting chair of a department or, you know, an acting politician, how we would use that term. So you're acting. So don't forget your actor values. What I mean is like some of the folks that came into the room, I noticed they had to let you know that they were in a rush or they just stole a break or they barely made it because they couldn't get out of work, whatever. Let that go. Like, play the role. The role is, I'm coming into the session and I'm totally ready for this session. And I don't know what's going on in the background. There's a bunch of chaos in the background. I don't know what's going on in the background. I'm acting as the professional in this moment, knowing I'm only going to be here for however long I'm here, and then I go back to, remember I said leave your stuff at the door? I'm going to go back to that. That's hard for people to do, Anne. I think that there's this confessional thing in people that they feel the need to tell you the truth about everything. They want to tell you how difficult their day was or that their tire is gone down and I barely made it here. And, oh, my God, my kid and the babysitter didn't show up. And I always say, leave it at the door because it's not pertinent to the people that are bringing you in. It's just a waste of time, really, for them. You and I talk about energy a lot, karma, like stars aligning. I really do believe in that. I think things happen for a reason. And I don't want you, meaning not you, but the listener, I don't want you guys to ruin your karma by sticking wrenches in it of things that are happening, whether they're your choice or whether they're just happening to you. don't bring it into the space because it can't do anything positive for your audition or for your exchange in the rapport building. It just can't. It's like an obstacle that you're putting in the way, and you're qualifying something and using it as an excuse. And you don't want to fall into the victimization compartment.
Sure, absolutely.
You never want to fall into that. You want to fall into the place where it's like, hey, I'm going to bring you what you need. In fact, I could hire you. In fact, I could hire people for you. In fact, I could do this for you.
Yeah.
You want to be that person that they come to fix the problem.
Yeah.
They don't want to be the person who creates problems that they don't have, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's wonderful advice. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would leave that outside of the room. And then one more thing, as the tech queens that we are, tech meaning coaching tech.
Oh, yeah.
I want that warm up. Some of the folks didn't warm up, and I could tell exactly who they were, who just did not do the vocal warm up, because I know the quality of the reads that they could typically do, and they were rushing into it, whereas others came in. They were already in a session. They were already recording. They were already vocally warmed up. They were ready to go. I could tell the difference. I don't know if you could tell the difference. I could tell the difference.
I could tell the people who are absolutely ready. You know what I mean? And we're like, bam, they had their material and they just executed. Yep.
Yep.
So I could tell. Yeah.
So that readiness, that's like being on the bench, as a sports player in the game.
You're ready to go.
You're not in the game yet. You're really not there, but you're visible to the crowd. You're on TV. You're getting ready to get selected. And there's that state of readiness that you have to have. So when they look at you, it's like, boom, I'm in the game. I'm ready. There is no transition time that you should need to go through. It really should just be there, present, and delivered. And that's hard. I make it sound easy. It's not. It's transitions, like executive functioning skill transitions. A lot of people find difficult in life is, how do I pivot from this to this, from this to this, without any clutter in the middle of it?
Yeah. I do have a question, something that I thought, just because, again, I wasn't there for the entire time, but I did hear people slating, which I think is fine, but people were slating with other talent agencies as well, and I wasn't quite sure about that. I thought, why? You invited me in, so I wasn't going to necessarily say what other talent agencies were representing me. Oh, okay. So I was really thrown by that one, and I thought, should I say other talent agencies that represent me when you invited me in so generously? And I just said my name. For me, it didn't seem right, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and now in retrospect, for this one, there was no right or wrong.
Oh,
it was totally clean, totally open. And that would be the protocol. You're right. That would be the actual protocol. Because there was an educational value to this workshop, I allowed and wanted people to slate what they have on their plate, to have a high ethos, to show a high ethos for themselves.
Okay, I
And because we're not exclusive anyway.
I mean,
we're freelance.
True.
But I hear you.
Because of the invite, it was just for me, it was like, well, I could say other, and to be honest with you, that threw me, and so I just said my name because I wanted to be respectful of you who invited me in as an agent. So,
and actually just for listeners to know behind the scenes, because they would never know this or see this, when we have a meeting and we debrief and we talk about talent behind their backs, in a nice way, I'll make it clear that if he wants to move forward with anyone, he would do it through MCVO.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He would. It would be only in the case of they're not with MCVO, they're exclusive with someone else, I handpick them to come in. Okay, that's fine. Other than that, everyone's with MCVO or in the TIC membership. And so I'm like, so we're kind of representing everyone here. So he would use us as the agent and as the liaison to help with the step-by-step of everything if he wanted to really call someone back.
Yeah, then I would say just my contribution to this episode would be, if you are in that position and you're live slating and auditioning, I would say respectfully with the agent that invited you to that. You should at least have that agency, unless it's been otherwise disclosed, that you can mention other agencies that you are represented by. So
Absolutely.
Just my thoughts on that. Wow. Well,
absolutely.
I want to say thank you, Lau, for that experience. It's always a pleasure learning from you and talking with you every week. So I really appreciate it. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Oh, my pleasure all the time. I can't wait for the next one.
All right. So guys, bosses, I want you to take a moment and imagine yourself being a part of making a difference in our world and giving back to the communities that give to you. Find out more at 100voiceswhocare.org. And a big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can network like bosses, like Lau and I, and find out more at IPDTL.com. You guys have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your host, Ann Ganguza. And take your business to the next level. Sign up for our mailing list at voboss.com and receive exclusive content, industry revolutionizing tips and strategies, and new ways to rock your business like a boss. Redistribution with permission, coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.